Good afternoon, everyone, and good evening and good morning, depending on where you are in the world. Welcome to another episode of Insight with Moonshadow. I am Moonshadow. I'm a healing therapist and evangelist, and just a soul having a human experience every day. Today's topic, and also too, it's the ninth episode as well. So it's great to be able to have 9 episodes in. So it's it warms my heart, and it gives me a good feeling to have 9 episodes and have all of you come and share your knowledge as well as learn with me and teach me as well. So I really appreciate that immensely. Now, today's topic, it's Moon Day. That's one of the reasons why I picked it, because technically it is Moon Day. That's where Monday came. So now, today's topic is about earthing. Now, a lot of people may or may not know what earthing is. Earthing is a form of grounding, but there's a bit more, even more intention involved in earthing than there is with just regular grounding. Like with the snow that we've had today. Like, I'm in the East Coast, in the Northeast of the United States, and we've had snow. Today we've got big snow, but also Sunday we had snow. And I went earthing on Sunday in between the snow. It didn't really stick around, but it was kind of cool and the temperature wasn't that great, but I still went earthing anyway. Yeah, please send me some sun, JP. Appreciate that. But earthing, now the earth, to start off with, it's called a Schumann resonance. They believe, and there are studies, that the earth resonates at a 7.8 or 8 hertz frequency. And a lot of time, healers and people that do healing work, they basically vibrate to about the same frequency when they're doing healing work. And it doesn't matter whether it's touch healing or therapy of any sort. They connect with that vibration, that frequency. So now, unfortunately, we're surrounded by technology, and we're all watching technology now. And I try to bridge the earth, or as I say, earthy crunchy, or connecting, being in nature, and I try to connect that with technology as well, because this is a method and a way of sharing. But with technology, we're so connected to our technology and our clothes and our shoes and our vehicles that we have like a disconnect to the ground, to the earth. Now, I don't know how many of you walk around barefoot often. Like, I tend to dread when I have to wear socks. When I have to wear socks, that's like the downslide, that's like, oh man, now I'm not wearing shorts anymore. I'm not wearing t-shirts. I'm wearing socks, and I'm wearing shoes to go out and that kind of thing. Now, there's a bit of a disconnect. Like, you can't, Anna saying that she loves being barefoot. So exactly. So now, even wearing flip-flops or sandals, or having any surface between you and the earth, it's a non-conductive connection, right? Because your skin isn't directly on the ground. So now, that being said, what this earthing movement is the willingness to reconnect to the earth and to walk around barefoot. They actually say, and different studies and different people have stated that walking, like, if you don't actually have connection to the outside, to nature, it can seriously affect your well-being. So that can seriously disrupt your mind, your mind, body, and your spirit, not being connected. Just like when people have that seasonal affect disorder. Hey, Aliman. I know a couple of people they have that seasonal affect disorder, where if it's too rainy or if it's too gloomy, their actual mood gets affected. So it's in the same vein that grounding is kind of yet another technique or another way of us being able to reconnect to the earth and reconnect to ourselves. Now, with earthing, it's something where we all make sure that we get vitamin D a lot of the time. You know, we go out into the sun, we'll go to the beach and that kind of thing. But it's something, earthing is something that is beyond just summer and spring. If it's cool enough or if it's slightly warm enough to go out there and walk barefoot, you can walk in the city and still earth. You can find a park. There are parks everywhere. And again, this is something where it's a personal meaningful thing for me. And the reason why I say that is because nature is what gives us breath. The sun gives us warmth. The things around us really imbue us with a lot of incredible energy. So there are people that go out there and, you know, and sunbathe a lot. Well, you got to be careful with, of course, with too much sun and that kind of thing. But to take in a lot of this elemental energy is just as important as you taking your vitamins. It's just as important as you eating the right food. It's just as important as you going to the gym. All of these things are important. So to ground, and I've shared some grounding techniques with people in this room and people in the show previously, and earthing is just yet another one. To be mindful of when you go out there, to feel the sand under your feet if you are at the beach, or to feel the grass under your toes. Because that in itself, you're sharing a strong connection with the earth. Your body's going to naturally kind of gain that semblance, so gain that connection, and you're going to feel that 7.88 hertz, that healing energy. And it's almost like being back in the womb. That energy, you're feeling the energy, it's going to calm you down. It'll lower your blood pressure a bit depending on how intense the connection is. It can literally make the difference in making you feel, you know, better as a person, or lightening your mood. It's really, really key. Now, some of us live in big cities. I luckily have the opportunity to have a lot of, you know, forest around me and ocean and beaches and that kind of thing. Some people live in cities where they don't have a lot of that. But go to a park, you know, being able to go to a park and you can earth as well. In fact, I even took a picture that I went out into the snow barefoot. Lance would appreciate that. So I kind of did the Wim Hof method, walking out there for a few minutes just to connect to the earth. Even now, even with snow, and I think we've got about 4 inches of snow in you know, on the 4th of April here in 2016, which is crazy. But having that green space, you know, having a backyard, like, you know, Anna's sharing that she has a backyard and green space across the street. That's fantastic. This is important to do because we lose track. We stay in the house. We get busy with our errands, and we get busy with our life, and we get busy with our jobs. But then we kind of neglect those little nuances, those little things that are so drastically important. You know, I enjoy when it's nice out. I enjoy leaning up against a tree and reading a book. You know, just there's another way of connecting to the earth as well. But being mindful of that. And it's not always easy to do, to put that and leave and connect that and make sure that we have that in our daily schedule, in our daily weekly events. We're always busy. We got things to do. We got places to go. We have to do our 9 to 5s or whatever we do. And all these things tend to affect us in a big way. So with earthing being, it's simple. All you have to do is have intention and just walk. Be out there, stand out there with your feet on the ground and just take in that energy. One technique that I've used, and in fact I've reused it recently on Sunday, is I walked out to my yard and I just was mindful and visualized all the stresses and tensions leaving my body and getting absorbed into the ground. So, like, I believe it was, let me just double check here. I think it was Anna that mentioned it about, is it grounding? But yes, it's a incredible way of doing some grounding work without having to be super, 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 super mindful. You don't have to be majorly mindful. You could take 5 minutes and ground, just like meditation. You can meditate for a couple of minutes and you're going to get some results. You're going to get some benefit from it. So what are the benefits of earthing? Almost automatically, you're going to find yourself lowering the hyperness or the busy energy in your body. It's going to definitely lower your blood pressure. Now, depending on how connected you are to your body, if you do healing work, your blood pressure will get lowered much faster. Some people are really, really hyper or really, really stressed, where it takes them a little bit longer to do that, which is fine. If you're mindful of it and if you focused on it, and it's not focused like an intensive focus, because even that could get in the way of you actually grounding or enjoying the benefits of earthing. A lot of people enjoy gardening. Gardening is definitely a form of earthing as well. But your feet aren't just in the ground. Farmers, they earth quite a bit because they're out there. Now, the key to earthing is also, the importance is also being barefoot and not having any surface interrupt your connection to the earth. I used to mow the lawn barefoot, which wasn't the greatest idea because I'd come back with my feet being incredibly green and then I'd have to scrub my feet. So I don't do that so much anymore. But as far as gardening, as far as, walking out there, it's so important. The benefits are amazing. The blood pressure being lowered, you being more mindful of that is important. Anyone that lives in a tropical area, like I know Pamela does, and I know Terry also lives in a more warmer climate, and it's more consistently warm. It's such a great thing, and then those benefits are going to exponentially make you feel better. Even rain. I've been, even when it's rained, I've loved to walk out there barefoot, and it's pouring out there all over me. Granted, you have to warm up and you have to dry off, but the feeling of being surrounded by the elements, being surrounded by the earth, that's almost like, for the sake of sounding like a hippie, people, and at this point, I am, it's like the earth embracing you and blessing you. Yeah, Marissa's saying here she loves being barefoot, but as far as her yard, well, things go to die in my yard. Yeah, well, even potted plants, but as long as you have a yard, that's really good that you have a yard. It doesn't necessarily have to be grass. As long as it's soil, as long as it's, gravel, dirt, as long as it's earth based, it's connected to the earth, and you don't have that connection, that displaced connection. And also too, if you're sensitive You know, if you're sensitive, like Anna's mentioning that she's a tenderfoot, you can you can still basically go earthing. You just kind of watch out for the surfaces, you know. Like if I'm wearing flip flops or I'm wearing sandals or something, I'll take the flip flops off and I'll walk on pavement. I'll walk everywhere. But I'm so used to walking barefooted as opposed to not. And that's just another symptom too, honestly, with you, Anna. You know, your feet are tender because you really walk around barefoot outside much, probably as well. So that's also um, part of it. Also, warm pavement is really nice, and it's good for your feet too. It's an exfoliation for the bottom of your feet too, if you think about it. It's kind of like a little bit of earth-based reflexology. All the little knobs and crevices on the pavement. But the earth is really such a healing element, and I don't think that we give enough attention to being out there. Yeah, well, Terry's mentioning that she gets grossed out when she walks on cement in bare feet. Understandable. And yeah, and it could be quite disheartening walking out there in bare feet. But in a lot of ways, where earthing is reconnecting to the earth and nature. Hey, Cindy, how you doing? But not also where you are too in the world. Like if you're in the middle of a city, it's going to be a little more difficult. You're going to have to go into a park or go down by the water, down by the beach if you're there, or into the desert even if you're over in the West Coast area. So all of that is really, really key to be able to reconnect. And unfortunately, in the insanity of our lives, we tend to forget. We tend to forget that reconnecting to ourselves and reconnecting to the earth is so important and so key, because when that happens, then we start to lose. We start to lose ourselves. We start to lose our strength. We lose our grounding. We lose our footing, if you will. So all of that is so important. And this is one of the reasons why I bring these topics onto my shows, because it's so important that I feel that we kind of we don't see the importance of it because we have to make time for it. You know, we're around the technology, we're around all these other things, and we don't really take the time to be more mindful and to do, like yoga, or do something that it's a normal everyday ritual or ceremony that needs to, yes, and I agree absolutely. Marissa's saying you have to be intentional about it. No different. You should be intentional no differently than you have to pay your bills and take care of your kids and eat breakfast or eat lunch or go to the bathroom. All of those things you have to make intentional too, to make it a lifestyle change, not a diet, not something that's temporary. It's a mindful intention. And it doesn't take much. You find yourself doing it a little here, you start doing it, then you're going to start doing more regularly. And before you know it, it becomes your new norm. And when something becomes your new norm, you don't really think, am I wasting my time doing this particular thing? Because we don't waste our time, watching or binge watching our shows on Netflix. We don't believe that we're wasting our time doing that stuff. That's like a form of self-care, right? This is just a natural form of self-care to incorporate into your life. And this is just really, really important as well, because a lot of the illness that we have, and a lot of the disconnect that we have, and a lot of the dis-ease that we have, a lot of it is because people forget that reconnection. And this is just a reminder. This is just another reminder to reconnect to the earth. You can have, I've known people with, seasonal allergies. They go out there, and if it's a high pollen count, they get really, really allergic. But even then, you could take a few minutes and go earthing if you wanted to. You can watch your pollen count out in your area. And if it's a high pollen count, then you kind of watch out for that. No different than if the sun is a little too strong, you wait till the sun dies down a couple of notches before you go outside. A sea salt bath. Okay, now Terry is mentioning and asking about, would a sea salt bath be good? Absolutely. That is another form of purifying and grounding as well. So that is helpful. In fact, using a lot of times I've charged a lot of my crystals in ocean water. Because if you think about it, salt, it tenderizes. When we're usually doing our cooking, we're putting it in a little bit of salt, or they can use brine to soften our protein, right? So it's no different. It's no different to our own skin, our own bodies. You just have to be careful about how much, because that you are ingesting that sodium. So you just got to be careful of how much you put in there. Now, Anna just asked a question: How far am I from the ocean? In Rhode Island, I am very, very close to the ocean. I'm not a short walk, but I'm around. There's forests, there's woods that are sandwiching. They're the middle between me and the harbor and the bay. But I'm within 5 minutes drive anywhere within the ocean. As far as a walk, I'm probably about 15 minutes to walk. But that's also another form of grounding. And I'm very fortunate to be around all the nature that I'm around. I actually live on a dead end, so it's not even a lot of cars that go up and down as well. Welcome, Christian. So with earthing, with the benefits of earthing, you can lower you can lower your blood pressure. It can give you a better state of mind. It could calm you down. It could slow down that monkey mind that the Buddhists say, the busy mind that we have. All of these things, they affect you. And with mindful intention, you could use some of the benefits or some of the different techniques like earthing to release or to reconnect and eliminate a lot of the daily stresses that we have. So Lake Ontario, that'd be cool. Isn't that? It's pretty cold there though now. Now also, Terry's asking, are there ground crystals one can use when they're stuck inside because of weather? Absolutely. There are different crystals you can use. Like I carry a lot of crystals around me as well. And I'm always carrying the earth with me. This is raw rose quartz, for example. This rose quartz is from South Africa, when I was in South Africa. And of course, there's different quartz. I like the more raw stones myself, but you can go to a gift shop and you can get quartz as well and different stones. I also have a large, this is a true story. I was down by the water, and I was walking and hiking barefoot at the time. It was a really beautiful day. And then what I ended up doing was I saw this big stone with this big quartz vein going through it. This big, huge vein of smoky quartz. Now, if you notice a lot of the stones, if you go to the beach and you see a lot of the white stones, more than likely, a lot of those stones are smoky quartz. They're not as pretty as the stones that you see at the gift shops. They're not cut and polished and all processed in that sense. But those are quartz. So to answer Terry's question, you can use those crystals to actually ground and use the different properties of different crystals to ground and also be more intentional and to do healing work as well. Today is just, we're focusing on the earthing, but grounding as a whole, if you're more mindful and intentional about that, it is just really, really important. Also, if you notice, in the form of, like Anna's saying, African dance, they do a lot of it barefoot as well. You notice that Indian dancing, they do a lot barefoot. They don't usually wear shoes. If you notice, a lot of the indigenous cultural form of dancing, very rarely are they using shoes. Belly dancing, the same. So that right there is telling us that there is really such a huge importance of connecting to the ground underneath us, the ground beneath our feet. Nana has a question here. Does holding stones in one's hand do the same kind of thing as standing barefoot outside? Yes and no. Now, you could ground that way by holding stones. Absolutely. However, since the stone isn't connected to the earth, you're not going to get the same, you may get a similar effect, but you're not going to vibrate at the same frequency, at that 7.8 or 8 hertz frequency that the earth is pulsing at. Does that make sense? You're going to get it from, it's going to be a little different. So it's almost like when you have heat in the house and you're not next to a register or you're not next to a vent, you're still going to receive the heat. But then you notice when you go to where the vent is, you're really feeling warm and cozy, right? So that's the whole thing. It's like some people, I actually know people that, a friend of mine's cats loves the heat vents in the floor, the heat registers in the floor, and they will put the cat bed near the heat vent because the cat is always like right there, next to the heat vent. So a lot of that matters. Either way, just being mindful and intentional about it in grounding and being more mindful with you and your connection to nature is going to help. All of that helps. It's all connecting to nature. But with this particular method of earthing, it's something that you don't have to be super mindful about. And this is why I brought it today into the show as a topic. You don't have to be super mindful of it. All you need to do is just walk or stand, or just connect. You can do that for 5-10 minutes. I only did it for about 10 minutes today because there's snow outside. So it would have been pretty cold if I walked around barefoot. But even the 10 minutes of walking around felt really, really good. So those are some of the benefits of earthing. I would definitely suggest for all of you to try earthing. Earthing is just an incredible thing. A lot of times just playing with dirt, I just enjoy playing with dirt and rocks and just connecting with that. That's when a lot of people that garden, they get a lot of benefits of earthing because they're really connected. They're really in there. And they're really focusing on it, and they're putting, hydrangeas and daisies and lilies and sunflowers and things into the ground, and they're really working that organic connection between themselves and the earth. Okay, Anna's saying that she has a place that she sits outside in good weather to watch the birds and see the trees sway in the breeze. Well, that is a great thing to do. And if we were more mindful of that, and if we did that more often, it became our new norm, then things would be quite different. The world wouldn't be such a hectic and chaotic place, I think. We tend to get too caught up in the hustle and bustle of things, and we don't always stop and, stop and hear the birds, or stop and hear the beach, hear the water crash against the sand. A lot of times I like to just grab a coffee and go down by the water and sit there, because even that itself the lack of connection can disrupt you, and that can open you up to a lot of things that aren't helpful to you. So it's important to make it a natural, and make it a practice. Make it a practice that you do that often, because it's really, really important. Because once you do that, a lot of people, I know quite a few people live in high rises, or big complexes, and they don't really have enough earth around them. They don't have trees, they're surrounded by concrete and things like that. One friend of mine, luckily there's enough grass and trees nearby that she can go out there and sit outside and read a book. Even though she's surrounded by complexes and buildings and the highway and all that kind of thing. I also have a friend in the Philippines that also lives in a high rise, but makes it a point to try at least twice a month to go to the beach and do a day thing at the beach, because it's just exponentially makes you feel tons better. And that's the great thing about cities too. I'm really grateful that a lot of the architects and the engineers, they don't overdevelop to the point of not having, like even New York has Central Park, this big, huge park in the middle of New York, which is phenomenal. So even then, that gives you the opportunity and gives you the chance to reconnect. In fact, there's even some places in these large cities that they've actually made gardens up on the roofs of these big skyscrapers. Well, they actually literally have turf, and they have a yard, even though the yard is like 1,000 feet up, but they still have it though. Even that's technically grounding if you really think about it. You don't need a whole lot of earth, because it's still going to resonate in the same. Okay, Ann's also mentioned there are gardens on that old train line in New York City. Yeah. Part of me, I have to smile when I find that a place that's been overdeveloped has been changed. Changed back to organic roots. I was in South Africa, and I was in a place that they had a big, huge rail yard. They had a big, huge train tracks that were going through everywhere. And I went there, and the train tracks, you can see some of the train tracks kind of unearthed, but the desert took it. The desert took it back. So it's almost like Mother Nature saying, you know what? You've had your use. You're not using it anymore. You've borrowed it. So now I'm going to take it back, and I'm going to let my offspring take it over. I'm going to let my animals reside in it, because you're not doing anything with it now. So it's interesting how nature has a way of going back to homeostasis in a way, or reasserting its strength. So with earthing, it's not just putting your feet in the ground. That was just the start of it. But be out there. Connect with it the best you can. I can guarantee that you will feel the benefits of it relatively quickly. Now, Marissa's saying here that we don't have too much green here in the Phoenix metro area, but our hiking trails lead to great earthing and recharging opportunities to connect with nature. And Arizona is a beautiful place. I've also been to Arizona, and I was staying mostly in Flagstaff at the time. But even in Phoenix, there were places that you could go, and you can connect with nature. So there's no excuse. There's no excuse You're busy. You've got a lot of things to do. You're stressed. Do some self-care. Get out into nature. Try earthing. Try yoga. Try meditation. Try things. Make something your new norm. One of the places, and Terry's mentioning Sedona, which is a spiritual vortex. I actually found myself in Jerome, Arizona, which is chock full of apparitions and ghosts and amazing energy. And a bunch of artists took it over. That was really a great time. And they had such a great energy. So if any of you end up over in Arizona, make it a point to try to make it a day to Jerome and have a burger at the Haunted Hamburger. It's a pretty cool place. But it's great. You have a lot of craftsmen artisans there. But this is all part of it, is have an adventure. Make that your new norm. Do something, whether it be once a week or a couple of times a month, to get out there. And if you have kids, I implore you to get them outside. Kids are raised with all these crazy electronics. And you know what? I'm a lover of electronics and tech as well. I use tech to my advantage, like right now. But get your kids outside. Get them walking barefoot. Get them dirty. Get them doing mud pies. I remember doing mud pies, when I was a kid. I remember sticking my feet in the beach where it was like mud and raining and walking around in the rain. Granted, I'd come in, I was filthy when I used to come in from going out into the woods. But those times, at that point in time, you're so connected to nature. You're so connected to the earth. I'd come back scratched up from being out in the woods, and to anyone that knows me in this room presently, they probably wouldn't be surprised me coming in filthy, dirty, and smelling of dirt. So, but this is something that we have lost track. So this is where I bring the topics in. Walking barefoot. Anyone can do it. Doesn't matter if you have skin, any kind of skin conditions or anything like that. It doesn't matter. You can still get out there, even for a minute. Got to be helpful to you. Getting some air. Being able to breathe in all those connections, all that energy from around us. Be aware, obviously if you're in a city and you have a lot of, smog or pollution, you may have to go drive a little ways to get out there and to actually earth or to ground with nature. If you're sensitive to, chemicals and energies and that kind of thing. Hey, Cliff. All of those things matter. But if you go out there into nature and you walk barefoot and you allow yourself to take in the energy, take in that breath of life, it can be, the benefits are immeasurable. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to unlock the seat. If anyone would like to pop in and share whether or not they've tried earthing or not, or if they utilize grounding in a different way, you're welcome to pop into the seat and to share a bit of your experience with how you connect with nature. Hey, Cliff, and I also want to thank all of you for being here to listen to my earthy, crunchy musings and mandarings and things. I think it makes a huge difference. This is what makes me do what I do. This is what makes me share what I share here. So does anyone that'd like to pop in, feel free. We have some new people in the room. Hey, Monty. We have Cindy. She's a new person in the room. Welcome. Here's a good question. I have a question for you. Now, all of us live in different parts of the world. We all live in different environments. How do you ground? How would you be able to try earthing today? And you don't have to pop into a seat if you don't want to, but okay, we're going to have Monty come in. But how do you know, feel free to type in the chat how you connect or how you ground. Hey, Monty, long time no see.
Hey,
How's things?
how you been?
I'm doing.
That's good. Fantastic subject.
Oh, thank you, man. Have you ever tried earthing before?
Yeah, I'll show you something that I use right now.
Oh, fantastic.
Let's see. Okay, hopefully you can make this out. That connector.
Oh, is that a buy? Oh, wait, I've seen those products. That's also another way of doing it as well. Feel free to share.
Okay, so you follow that connector, right?
Yes.
And then you see the opposite end plugged into that, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how I ground my bed.
That is awesome. And also, by the way, people, I'm glad you said that, Monty, because you triggered when I was reading into this a bit more prior to the show. There are such things that you can have a mat that you could connect to outside. So you literally put a spike outside of your house and you run a cord in, and you could actually sit at your desk at your computer doing what you do, and you could connect with that frequency of the earth as well. So look into earthing. There are actual products that you could spend money on to also get the same effect.
I still have that around here somewhere, because my wife spends a lot of time at her laptop, just like everyone else. You know, we spend a lot of time in front of the laptop or desktop computer, and I actually have a voltometer where you measure what the laptop looks like before it's grounded. You know,
right?
And then you measure it again after you ground it, after you plug the thing into the wall, right?
Mm-hmm.
Major difference. So we figured, you know what? For us, no more sitting at a computer without it being grounded.
Exactly. And we're losing, and we lose track. Like,
you mean the hours?
We lose track of time. We lose track of in our busyness in our lives. We forget that how important it is to connect and to ground, because, you know, like Laura's in Romania. She prefers being out in the sun. I cannot say enough how important it is to be out in nature. Yeah. If you could be outside with your feet on the ground, feeling the sun on your face, feeling the wind dance around you, that is key. That is so important.
That is key.
So having a biomat, that is only just if you can't get out there. That's the only thing. But I am huge on getting your butt out there. And that's the more modern earthing, Marissa. But even then, I think it's great that they put out these products too. And you notice that this particular show wasn't about the products until the last of it.
Right. Let me ask you a question.
Sure.
Have you ever seen the blood analysis of what? Maybe you talked about it already, but if you haven't, there's an analysis that one of the inventors a major inventor of some of the grounding products and the research, they did an analysis of what our blood looks like prior to us grounding as compared to before and after.
Mm-hmm.
And the molecular structure of our I forget what it's called, the hemoglobin or the platelets or whatever, they look radically different. There's massive clumping, and it's ugly and it's disorganized. But when we ground, we get platelets or the blood is actually in a uniform and dispersed, and there's space in between each and every one of them. It's a major difference.
Well, see, that's also part of it too. That's being connected to the flow, to the actual flow of nature. And not being connected to the flow of nature. Because if you think about it, if you're not connected to flow, if you don't have a natural current in your life, they're full of jerky motions. It's like, oh, wait, I forgot to go to the laundry. Oh, wait, I forgot detergent. Oh, man, I forgot, bringing my kids to soccer practice.
Right.
You're not in the flow of things. But when you're in the flow of something, things seem more effortless. They seem easier. It's not so herky-jerky. It's not so stressful.
Very good point. Exactly.
And I do believe that they're called biomats, but I could find out a little further. I'm going to put in a link for you guys as well. And I have no affiliation to this link, but it was one in some of my research to remind myself more about it. You could check out that link, and that link will give you more information on earthing and even some products as well that you can utilize if you're in in the house and you still want to connect to that Schumann resonance, which is 7.88 hertz.
7.83 exactly.
And they're saying too that that's changing. I've also done research recently. They're saying it's actually emulating differently, and they can say that it's almost 12 to 14 hertz now.
Well, that's a good point, because actually I have something else I want to show you. You see this thing here?
Yes.
That is what I call an electromagnetic field tuner.
Mm-hmm.
And that actually puts that 7.83 Schumann resonance signal not only in the immediate area, like where I am now, but it sends it through the wiring of the home.
Oh, see that.
So that
cool.
Throughout my home, we got that signal going through the actual wiring of the home. So you have to duplicate, you guys, that 7.83 Schumann resonance signal, and that's the minimum, because as Moonshadow's pointing out, sometimes the earth is stagnant in terms of what it does, and sometimes it's dynamic, and when it changes, we have to change, and we have to adapt. Now, I'm not quite sure how we find out what the exact new frequency is, but I think the minimum benchmark or standard should be at least 7.83.
Right.
And if I ever find it, I'll do some research and maybe blog about it or something.
And also too, there's a question. Laura is saying, how do you feel differently since you've been using that resonator?
Well, as Moonshadow pointed out, your thoughts, your actions, the amount of effort that you put into things, it's almost like being intuitive in terms of knowing that you're not struggling, you're not forcing. One analogy might be getting in your car and going around a turn where you slowly turn the wheel and you make that curve, and it's not that big of a deal. The car is not lurching back and forth side to side or something. And the other example may be going around the same curve, and you slowly turn the wheel gradually, and you go into that curve, and your passengers aren't flying from one side of the car to the other. So you want that gracefulness in your life, in everything that you do, the way you think, sleeping habits, responding to people, being on the same page, harmonizing with people, all those things. I think you're going to notice a major difference, Laura, when you start to become in tune with nature. Nature allows us to not fight going in a certain direction, not forcing our will upon others, etc., but to have that harmony and to seek out the ability to understand and empathize with, and all of that.
And we do get affected by everything around in nature. So this is being part of it as opposed to fighting against it. And even Marissa saying, I'm not trying to push any products. And I agree with you, Marissa, because
same here.
You're very earthy as well, Marissa. And that's one of the reasons why, I love when you come to the show as well. You always have a lot to share. Sometimes we have to go into that. Like, I've used biofeedback machines, and I'm showing my age, but I've used biofeedback machines in technology. I have a sound and light machine right near me that I could utilize to do brain entrainment. So you can use some technology to enhance or bring the result that you want. But I'll tell you, the crazy thing about it is you have people that are yogis or Buddhists,
Oh,
or
sure.
people that are involved in prayer or meditation, where they don't need any of that. So
No.
it's like almost the bridging the gap in between. There's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with the
Yeah.
technology, but try to get out there and just connect to that Schumann resonance, to
Yeah.
connect to that earth, to connect by walking out there barefoot. It's like watching a movie about the beach. It's like watching a video. You're watching a video about the beach. Now that is fantastic. And you may actually have, your body may resonate with it. You
Yeah.
may be like, oh, that's so beautiful. That is so great. Look at that water. Oh my God, it's so great.
Like a
But
virtual
then,
vacation.
right, like a virtual vacation. But you go out there, if you actually go out there and you have your feet in the sand,
And the sand.
like for example, I saw this commercial recently. I think it's Peloton, the bikes. You go on the bikes,
Um,
you can spin, you can go spinning.
spinning classes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like spinning classes, and you have
Yeah.
a video monitor, right? And you can literally virtually go different places, and you can also go to a spinning class with another trainer. So you're basically in a room, right? But you're in
Yeah.
a room by yourself. So in the same essence, like you're on that bike, and this is what kind of makes me laugh a little bit, is that people are in their homes. They've got it perfectly. They may even have a bike that's collecting dust in a shed or a garage. I
Yep.
also am guilty of that. I need to take the
Uh,
dust off. When it gets warmer, I want to take the dust off my mountain bike so I can get out there. But what's the difference between riding a recumbent bike in your house and actually
mhm.
getting your ass on a seat on a bike and going to get your coffee, a mile away on a bike?
Well, I think in this age where we're so preoccupied, you mentioned earlier, if I'm working, 8 hours a day on the road with 2 hours because I'm commuting, and I'm trying to recuperate from that when I get home, I really don't have a lot of time to do the things that I need to be doing. So yeah, unfortunately, we have to bring in some of these things into our lifestyles, and unfortunately, that may mean a little bit of technology, but we don't want to put a lot of emphasis on technology, but because if I'm in an office, not me, but if you're in an office and you're 13 floors up, then you're not grounded. Okay.
You have to bring Earth to you. You may
You have to
have to
bring
bring the crystals up into your cubicle
yeah.
or whatever.
You see
So,
this?
is
I'm
that
giving.
onyx or obsidian?
No, keep going. You
Okay,
probably haven't heard. This is kind of it's just kind of exotic.
just yeah, just because the webcam unfortunately does not do justice
Yes,
to
it
us.
doesn't do justice at all. But this is a what is it called? Shungite.
Shanghai.
Shungite. Yeah, when you guys get a chance, look up Shungite. And what Shungite is doing, and we talk about reconnection, the Shungite is basically absorbing the effects of electromagnetic radiation. There was an individual called Alexander the Great a long time ago. He came across what is it? No, what is the story? Okay, first of all, shungite is found just in very few places. Russia is one of them. This meteorite crashes to Earth,
Oh, that's cool. I like moldavite
distributes
as well.
exactly same principle. And either you go there and you mine it or you don't get it. So it's very exotic in
Or
terms
you
of
have to, or you have to order it, and it's sometimes really difficult to get.
yeah, exactly. If you don't have a good distributor or connection, then you don't get it. But one of the major benefits again is to set it in key places throughout your home. And a lot of times what we try to do is we try to form a matrix in our home where we literally surround ourselves and with these particular gemstones and such to create a matrix. So at any given point in time, we're in the middle of it, right? Yeah, Shanghai, there it is in there. But
Thank
you're
you
going to
very much.
find out that, yeah, thanks. What you're going to find out is when you bring these things into your home, because our homes, a lot of our homes are not made traditionally to the feng shui type of
Well, they tend to not flow as well as they should.
yeah, that energy is working against us in most of our designs of our homes. So yeah, what we try to do is we try to fix that problem. We try to get that energy flowing, that positive energy flowing, and get rid of those straight angles as much as possible. And this is one of the ways that we can address it, in addition to the earthing and everything else. So there's a lot to be said about this.
There very much is, and this is part of it too. And even though the main topic is earthing, it's also about just a reconnection and being mindful, intentional of how you do connect. And if you do connect, not everyone connects. So this is where bringing the topic to the table, instead of talking about, current events or what's going on, we can talk about other things. And this is why I bring this to the show. There are a lot of people that bring positive current events out in the world, and I get information from that, which is awesome. From my vantage point, from where I am, I'm just more mind, body, and spirit oriented. So I bring the internal into it to bring out and say, hey, have you thought about this? Have you thought, as a matter of fact, Monty, I took a picture of my bare feet outside in snow, because we just got some snow here in New England.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, I'm not sure how much snow Cliff had received, because he lives about an hour from me.
Yeah.
Give or take. But yeah, so I even did earthing today outside for about 10 minutes before my feet got really cold.
We're learning so much about it. There was a guy who owned a construction company, I think even in Hawaii. He found out that before he starts his day, he requires that his crew take off their shoes for the 30 minutes to an hour and ground. And then they start working. And he found out their productivity, the resiliency, when you're working for as long stretches at a time, physically demanding jobs, unfortunately, are the best, situations where we can see clearly that you rejuvenate quicker after the job and everything, but you ground first, 30 minutes to an hour a day if you can, and you will be amazed how your body reacts to the normal stresses after doing so.
And see, this is the whole thing. I applaud that person, because for him to say, okay, before we get busy, let's get mindful. That is phenomenal. That's phenomenal, because it makes total sense. Like, even before, a lot of times before I do anything, I kind of sit in it for a minute.
Okay.
I call it shifting gears, mentally shifting gears. But even before I even do this show, sometimes, there are times that you guys have caught me doing it because I've already been on cam, but I will take a nice deep breath, breathing in through my nose and exhaling through my nose. Yeah. Because it's a more healthy way of doing it. It's a more proper way of breathing.
Okay.
And I'll do that before I shift gears into to starting. So even with starting work, make it a ceremony, make it something where you're mindful and connected.
Wow.
There are plenty of times I'll go out there. If it's really nice out, I'll go outside and have coffee before I'd start my day. And I haven't done that enough, and I need to do that as soon as outside. Going outside and going out in my deck and going out in my yard, having my coffee, taking in the sounds of the nature around me. All of that. And again,
I just want to let you know, I found some information about the earthing as a way of anti-aging. It has, of course, anti-aging effects.
Well, that's big business right
now. There's science behind it, so you guys don't think this is just some mishy-mashy, or whatever you want to call it, type of contrived
people have been doing this a long time.
Yeah, this is not new. Indigenous tribes and cultures for a long time. The Indians,
also Africa too.
Yeah, African, exactly. They all found that when you're outside, your body is connecting and it's rejuvenating, and it's capable of fighting off disease and tiredness and everything a lot more so than, because we can actually look at analysis that determined a long time ago that when we started building houses and building floors and putting carpets on those floors and making buildings where we go from one level to 30, And then we brought our animals, like this one here. We brought them indoors. Guess what? They started to mimic. Yeah, that's lazy bones. They started to mimic the diseases, the arthritis and the different things, joint pains or whatever that we had. So yeah, we can look at correlations between when we quote unquote became civilized and we started to have all these ill effects of our civilized society.
Well, let's think about this for a second. How often do you hear of farmers getting sick?
Right.
No joke. Let's think about this for a second. How often do you hear of a farmer feeling sick or being really ill? It's rare. It's rare. Why? Because they know what they're putting in the ground. They're actually ingesting what they put in the ground. They are in constant mindfulness. They're in constant intention.
Hold on 1 second. Go ahead.
They're in constant intention. And to think about it, if you really, really, really think about it, if we went towards, and again, it's not easy. Technology and society, I can't say I'm a huge, huge person that believes in society as much, because unfortunately, that kind of takes us away and it disconnects us from who we are as people. It takes away our connection to being in the same tribe.
So true. Technology is doing a lot of disservice to us. Exactly. Whether we like it or not. Yeah.
Right. So it makes us even more, we have to be more vigilant about reconnecting.
Right.
Because all that really matters. Like also too, prior to here, we have, I believe it was Monty. And this is just to reiterate the topic here, because he's saying earthing or grounding is the process of connecting with the earth's primordial healing energy to reduce inflammation and ultimately improve health by promoting electron balance in the body. So, so, you know, as old as this is, as old as this technique is, this is not new. No. This is not some new age thing. But as old as it is just a huge, huge way of you creating homeostasis in your body. This is why I bring this out into my show, for that reason, is because we don't think about it enough. And even I lose track of it as well. I have to remind myself constantly, go back. Oh, sure. Go back home, go back to nature, go back, do what you got to do. Because in the busy influence of our lives, of technology and society, of having to do what we need to do, we lose our place. And we have to go back to that. We have to go back to our roots. We have to connect. We have to earth. We have to do, you know, that's why I suggest yoga. That's why I suggest Tai Chi. That's why I suggest walking around barefoot, enjoying nature. All of those things are hugely important.
Yeah, get out there. Sit underneath that tree. You know, when you get a chance, I had a friend who kept talking about sitting under a tree, you know, next to the stump of the tree, you know, right under the tree. And he kept talking about the positive effects, you know, and all that. And but you know, we never connect the dots. We never try to figure out why is it so important, you know, like walking around barefoot, you know.
And that's part of grounding. And that's part of grounding. You're sitting against the tree. Your butt is on the ground. The back of your leg, the back of your legs are connecting to Mother Earth.
Yeah.
Your back is against the tree. The tree has all its roots and its network of roots going deeper in the ground than you are at the moment.
Oh, sure.
It is the form of grounding. So, and does that take a whole lot of time?
No, I don't think so.
Does that take a whole lot of attention? No, it's just feel it. Sometimes just being in it.
Well, the good news, I think once you start doing it, practicing it, you know, then you wanna make sure that you integrate it into your lifestyle. You know, well, I have a good workout at the gym. As old as I am, I'll have a good 2 to 3 hour workout at the gym, and I have to end it with some yoga. And I didn't realize what I was doing. See, a lot of times we do different things and we don't know why, and then later on we find out why it's working. Like
Mr. Right Lazy Bones approves of your regime. Of course, your regimen there.
Exactly. He's benefiting as well because he's older, but you know, the way he runs around, and all that is, I think he resembles a younger cat, much younger. So, so yeah, but even the yoga and the different things. What are we doing? When I get through with my physical routine with the barbells and the machines and yada yada yada, I lay on a mat and I let that energy dissipate, and I let the negative energy out, and you're also getting rid of lactic acids and all that. But there's definitely a place when we take a look at what these things are actually doing to us. And then, of course, you get the benefits later, and you finally realize, okay, I better keep this up because I'm feeling so good. Things seem to be working, right? So yeah, we have to integrate these things into our life. So
And that's just so important. And if we
yeah,
take a few minutes every day to kind of think on it, then life is going to be better. Things are going to get better. We got to
yeah,
become better for sure. And it just takes a little bit of I call it like a mental gym. You just going to, or a spiritual gym. You go to the gym to work out. We don't necessarily work out our minds as much as we should. We don't work out our spirit as much as it should be. So it's so important to work out all aspects, all parts of ourselves
no,
to
look,
really become it.
we're multifaceted beings. We've integrated technology into our lives to a great extent, but that doesn't address, like Moonshadow talking about, that doesn't address my spirituality. If I make a ton of money and I'm sacrificing my spirituality and my health and my family, I have nothing basically, right? So
Right.
yeah, we have to have that balance. And when you get the balance, that's when you're really going to say, you know what? Now I really feel successful. That's success. Financial success by itself, or physical success by itself in the gym or whatever. If we compartmentalize and just have success in a particular area, that means
Mhm.
nothing. You won't feel the difference really, as compared to when you finally realize, look, I'm doing something for my body, doing something for my spirit. I'm feeling good about my relationship with people.
And that's what
There's
brings homeostasis. And that's what brings
right.
homeostasis in, is the incorporation of everything. Because whether you actually apply it or not, whether you actually think of it or not, you are those different aspects that overlap within each other. Because if one is suffering, the other will suffer.
I'm going to show you something, you guys, Moonshadow. I'm going to show you guys something. Let me know whether you can tell me what it is.
Okay. Okay. Is that a mandala?
Any other words for that? That could be another way of describing it. What is another term for that I may recognize? I don't recognize that one.
Ooh, that I know that things are like. I know it's like fractal. I know there's like sacred
Yeah.
geometry. I
Yep.
also do
Sacred
sacred geometry
geometry, you guys.
energetically as
That's sacred
well.
geometry. That's a particular one, a particular form of sacred geometry. Okay.
And thankfully,
There's, uh-huh. Okay, let me see. Okay, that one is actually called, I think that's the tree of life. The flower of life or the tree of life? Let me make sure.
there's also with sacred
Oh, I'm
geometry.
sorry, that's the flower of life.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Also, too, with sacred geometry, that is also a healing modality. Working with sacred geometry, I've done that with people as well, where you're actually providing a grid, an energy
Oh,
grid
that's
for them.
exactly. Very important point. That's what I'm trying to duplicate. That's what I was alluding to earlier when I talked about placing gemstones, because I was working with a company that provides the crystals and the moldavites and the shungites and the crystal quartz and all these other things, right? And see, you don't just throw these things inside of a bowl, or
Mhm.
just place them in front of you like I did, put them in a bowl, right?
Yeah,
but no, actually I have a bowl, and I have, let me see, I just went over that so quickly. Look, you guys, this is a concoction of different things. This is a wand based
that's like a
thing.
metaphysical goulash.
Exactly, like a gumbo or something.
That's like a
And
it's like a juju gumbo.
you name it. You got the bloodstones, and you got all sorts of things in here. But in addition to what you see in that bowl, whatever you want to call it, they're placed, certain things are placed strategically around where I live,
Oh,
right
definitely.
inside. And yeah, so we form a grid, and um, you know, the same thing what you're doing with the sacred geometry. You're bringing into your life the things that are as ancient as we are, older, you know, and a lot of times, see, we're still trying to find out about some of these what I call
some of this
ancient technologies.
some of this quote unquote technology is older than
Right.
society. It's so old that
we still trying to
right,
figure it
Egyptian
out.
and the
Right.
Toltecs were doing this stuff,
Yeah.
and we have to learn in a different way now. But they had a pulse on
Yeah.
it. They had a pulse on this stuff.
Oh my
So
goodness, you guys, we don't know anything as compared to what the ancients know, because these shapes here are universal in nature. And I'm talking about, when I say nature, I mean it extends from this planet out into the galaxy. That we're getting access to some things that are older than our planet, but yet some people were utilizing them in ways in there, and we're finding out 1 or 2% right now of
well, see,
what they
that's
were
the
trying
thing.
to
And Marissa
tell
was
us.
saying I was going to show mine, but never mind. I keep mine in my pocket in a bracelet. See, like everywhere I go, I'm carrying, like, even being
Yeah.
mindful. Like this choker, I made this choker. This has stones on it, right?
Okay.
And I was mindful and
Yeah.
intentional of the
Yeah.
stones
Right.
I used.
Right.
I have jasper. I have hematite to ground. I have tiger's eye for protection.
Wow. Cool.
So all of that, a lot of
Right.
times, just being a little more mindful and intentional about it and read into it, because
Yeah.
we have lost. As soon
Yeah.
as we've become a society, we've kind of lost that tribal wisdom that we've had. We've all been part of the same tribe for a long time, but we're not connected to it so much
Right.
anymore. You notice the time where, do you actually go out and meet with your friends? A lot of times we'll use a peer in, we'll use Blab, we'll use YouTube and that kind of thing. So it's like, if you're
Exactly.
more intentional and mindful, and sometimes you can't do anything of it. If I want to see, like, I can go off and have a coffee with Cliff because he's not far from me, right? But for me to see, Pamela, or to see Laura, or to see Terry, or see Beth, I'm going to have to, or Marissa even, I'm going to have to hop on a plane to go see them. So this is a nice way, a nice medium, or a nice technique, or a nice ability to be able to see you all on in the same page. But ultimately, wouldn't it be better? I'm not
Yeah.
going to say it wouldn't be better to travel the world, and I would love to come visit you guys and be like, hey, let's have a coffee and sit. Let's go
Yeah.
earthing together. Let's go into desert. Let's do
Yeah.
these things. That would be
Right.
incredible.
Well, I think the good news is, technology has separated us to a great extent. I can be in my cubicle 2 feet away from you, and you'll be in your cubicle, and we'll be texting each other or something, right? But I think that the good news is this: now, we can use technology to remind each other what is really important.
Getting some kind of
How to reintegrate the ancient technologies, the ancient wisdoms,
yeah.
back into our lives. So therefore, we can start sharing these things, because we've driven these wedges in between us, and we talk about the differences a lot of times. But now, see, we can say, okay, look, what do you know about the tree of life? What do you know about the Shangites? What do you know about the earthing? Oh, okay, this is what I know, right? So we
Exactly.
start sharing this information, and all of a
And this
sudden,
is
okay,
where, and this is why
Cliff,
I do what I do, is
yeah,
for this reason, is to bridge that
yeah,
gap, to make technology part of humanity, as opposed to just, enhance it to say, this
yeah.
is how we're going to connect. Like, for example, where everyone, apparently we're all, Laura's suggesting a party over in the Bahamas right now, that we all go to the Bahamas right now. Now, also, we have
Yeah,
a
no.
question from William saying, what do you think about positioning your bed to point north and align your body to the Earth's magnetic poles? That is a really good question. That's a really good question, William. I'll actually have Monty answer that question as well as myself, and anyone else in the chat, how you feel about it. So do chime in and put in your thoughts and opinions on it. I myself, if applicable, if you can do it, it's important to do that. If you can,
Right.
depending on where there's a window, sometimes it's not feasible for you to position your bed. But if you can position your bed to have your head at the north and your feet at the south, that's phenomenal, because now you're attuning yourself to the energies of the earth as well. Now, do you have anything to add to that, Monty?
No, that's exactly what we're trying to do. As a matter of fact, I was writing on, of all things, a blog, I think it's called A User's Guide to Immortality. And I'm covering a whole bunch of different subjects. I think earthing is just one of the things that I'm mentioning. But in the User's Guide to Immortality, I was I had read a little bit about different techniques, and one of them had to do with what it means to. Because see, that I think William already knows, and I want to make sure everybody else understands. That is ancient wisdom. Okay, that was handed down basically. Where I got it from, there was. Let me see. I don't know how to put this, but there were some ancients, put it this way, for lack of a better word, that discovered that. Well, let me see how to put it simply. When the magnetic poles are when we're aligned to true magnetic north, for instance, that has a certain effect on us. Okay, and it's long believed that when we're truly aligned to true magnetic north, for instance, that is one way of countering the aging process. And there are some people who actually think, people a lot older than us, way older, like this goes back 1,000 more years or something, where they were thinking that when you get 100 years old, for instance, you will, you typically expire, for us. But after doing this alignment, I think 7 days on or 7 days off, I can't remember the exact formula, I have to look it up. But when you align yourself on and off, and there's various intervals where you do this, it won't be that big of a deal to achieve, to be a centenarian and then to go way beyond that. So that is really something worth looking into. And if I could find a little bit of information that I've written about it, I'll put it in there. But there's something definitely, you guys.
And also, I would definitely suggest to follow Monty as well. We've had quite interesting conversations about it, and he's a very technologically savvy, in the sense of he is one of those truth seekers where he will go into it and he will search, he will scour and search. And this is one of the multiple reasons why whenever Monty decides to pop in, it's like he wants to share something. He'll bring up books, he'll bring up things that and he truly shares. Now, also, there were a couple of glitches that happened with Blab. So one of the things I want to make sure is I want to end the recording. Okay. However, I can hang a bit longer after the recording is off. Now, also too, Laura's saying, is it the other way around depending on the hemisphere one lives in? Now, that we'd have to do more research in. I myself do not have it that way, but that's just because geographically in my bedroom, I can't do it that way. That's the only difference. But you could still counteract that. Like even with feng shui, you have different remedies that you can utilize to alter the flow of your space. So that you can still do. But
okay, can I interrupt you just for 1 second? I just found a passage, and I think hopefully William Rose will agree with me on this. The Atlanteans actually talked about that, and in the old text, someone mentions there's an individual by the name of Thoth. When you get a chance, you can read about Thoth. He's supposedly the one who actually created the pyramids, and is like the holder of knowledge, the keys to wisdom and all that. He's that powerful. But anyway, one of his quotes talked about, "Least ye, old man, whilst I give the secret, so that ye too shall taste not of change." In other words, he's telling you, when you follow this protocol of aligning yourself to true north periodically and such, you will not taste change.
So you will not grow old, in essence.
You will not grow old. Okay, these people had a certain way of saying things, but that's exactly what he's saying, and he actually outlines the way that he wants you to pursue this. And I'll put that passage in there. And I don't want to monopolize the show or give you guys too much, but I want you guys to be truth seekers, because that's what it's all about. Take some of this information, whatever bits and pieces, because we talked about a lot of different things. Take bits and pieces of it and do some research and find out, why is this so important, and where did it come from, or whatever.
And this is part of the reasoning why I like bringing this to the table, because this is just so important to bring around the people that want to know more and want to learn more. And this gives people,
you got to have a desire,
right? And this brings us together as truth seekers, as people that are seeking knowledge, that want to, be better, feel better, with all our bodies, mind, spirit, and soul, mind, body, and spirit, of course. And all of these things we are not as mindful of. But see, doing this, and this is why in closing of the recording here.
Okay, I'm gonna bow out and let you do your closing thing, and I'll keep an eye out for you.
Thank you, Monty.
Whenever you have something else, okay, you guys. I hope
it's always a pleasure. Always a pleasure having you come in.
Okay, thanks. All right, I'll monitor from the sidelines.
Fantastic.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you for coming.
Appreciate
Thank you for sharing.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you. All right.
So now we've learned so much, and it started with learning the benefits of earthing. And this is part of the reason why I bring what I bring. It's really not about who I am. It's more about what I can share and what we can share together as people. We are all of the same tribe, no matter what's going on with us. All of us are going through adversity. All of us are going through good and positive and negative changes. The fact that we stay connected, or stay mindful to be connected, is so important. So looking at this, I appreciate all of you coming, all of you for sharing, all of you for listening, all of you for taking it all in. If anything, if it's to provoke more thought, or to provoke to and I use the word provoking in a positive way, to make you think, to bring something else, another possibility into your realm of thinking. The fact that all of you come and stay every week is so important. Now, also too, Terry's saying, how does someone go out and schedule an appointment with me? Okay. Well, Terry, I can fill in the chat. Here's my website. You can catch me there. You can also see what's going on. Let me see if I get that right. I do. And also too, I want to thank, and this is something that I haven't always done in the last 8 episodes, I have to thank people that are in the replay as well. Because people that catch me on YouTube, I can't thank them. So it's thanking them now for being able to watch me even on YouTube as well. So I appreciate, and I'm very grateful for you watching and coming and sharing, even by just listening to the show itself. But you can catch me over on moonphoenixrising.com. All my information is there. You can also catch me on Blab. You can also add me on Twitter at Moonshadow143 as well. How can we donate to your cause? PayPal. Oh, that's a good question. I haven't even thought of that. But I'm gonna have to think about that. So thank you for even bringing that into my mind, into my mindscape. But and that alone is I'm appreciative of it. But all of us, we think about these things and we don't necessarily share with each other. We don't necessarily connect with each other, because a lot of things we may be different in different ways. We may think differently. But go out of your own mindset. for a minute. Listen to what something, listen to something what someone else has to say, because you can learn. You could teach. We're all teachers and we're all students, and we're all on the same path. We all have to walk our slightly different paths on this earth. So just be the best you can and be mindful of that. And if you do that, I think that you could really be a better person, mind, body, and spirit. So I want to thank you all again for coming from different parts of the world and sharing what you have and learning with me. All of that, I really, really appreciate you. And I'm grateful to all of you. And it's heartfelt and it's humbling to know that all of you come every week to see me and to share with me. So on that note, I'm going to close down the recording, but thank you all and see you next week.